I was looking at Nick, and he was standing maybe 6 feet in front of me. He just walked towards me and stabbed me.
Dante Carlson was one of 5 people stabbed by defendant Nicolae Miu, who's now on trial for murder. I'm Imran Ansari, giving you a closer look at the testimony of 4 surviving victims taking the stand this week in St. Croix County, Wisconsin. Let's hear more of what Carlson told prosecutors leading up to the moment he was attacked by the defendant in July of 2022.
My dad told us to post up and then wait, and then he told us to go over and see what was going on.
Did he say to try to de-escalate?
No, he didn't say de-escalate. He just asked us to figure out what was going on.
And did you go over there?
Yes.
And could you hear the teenagers yelling?
Yes.
Do you remember what they were yelling?
At first it was help, then it was cheering, and then they were calling him names.
And did you try to ask Nicolae what was going on?
Yes.
Did he answer you?
No.
Were you telling him to leave also?
Yes. So I turned to the kids group and I went, "What's going on?" And they shouted, "He's looking for little girls." And I'm like, "He's looking for little girls?" Confused. And then I went again to turn back and get his side of the story, and that's when he punched Madison in the face.
What do you remember next after that?
I punched him.
At some point, are you stabbed?
Yes.
And what do you remember what do you remember in your mind, not from the video, about what happened after, well, I guess first let me ask, do you remember Tony telling you to back up or get back?
I remember him pushing me away from the commotion.
Okay. And what do you remember after that?
I was pushed away, and then I heard screaming going on behind me, so I had turned around, and then I was looking at Nick, and he was standing maybe 6 feet in front of me. He just walked towards me and stabbed me.
And what do you recall happening after that?
I went to my dad.
Did you see what Nicolae did after that?
No.
Dante Carlson was in one of 2 groups tubing on Wisconsin's Apple River that got in an altercation with the defendant Nicolae Miu. According to Miu, he approached the tubers while looking for a missing cell phone from a member of his own tubing group. That's when Miu said the tubers accused him of snorkeling in order to look at underage girls underwater. Miu claims he was outnumbered when the tubers, ages 17 to 24, closed in on him. And according to eyewitnesses, Miu ended up striking Madison Cohen in the face. The tubers fought back, and at that moment, Miu argues his life was in danger when he pulled out a knife and started stabbing people surrounding him. As a result, 17-year-old Isaac Schuman was killed, and 4 others were wounded. Carlson, whose hand is seen approaching Miu on the ground, was the first of those survivors to testify, so let's hear how Miu's defense team tried to corroborate their client's story on cross-examination.
After you hit him once, he fell in the water, correct?
Yes.
And as he fell in the water, you moved to get over him, correct?
Yes.
You moved to position yourself in a way that you could strike him a second time, correct?
Yes.
And you moved to position yourself to set yourself up for that second strike to be with your right hand, correct?
Yes.
That was your dominant hand, correct?
Yes.
You wanted to make sure the force that you hit upon him was the most dominant force you could use, and that would be with your right hand.
I wouldn't say I did it purposely. I just think my body naturally went to the right side.
Okay. To set yourself up to hit him a second time, correct?
Yes.
Clearly, when he's down in the water on his back, Maddie's safe, right?
Yes.
She's not in any danger, agreed? You agree?
For now, yeah.
in that moment, she's not in any danger, agreed?
Agreed.
And you're not in any danger, agreed? He's down on the ground, correct?
Yes.
You're not in any danger. You agree?
I would say, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I mean-
And you would agree that you and Maddie and the 11 other people there are not in danger when Nicolae Miu is down on the ground in the water after you hit him. Agreed?
I wouldn't say agree to that.
Okay.
He was still a danger.
Okay. He was a danger while he was on his back in the water, surrounded by you and your friends.
Yes.
And because you believe, that's what you believed at that time?
Yes.
And you believe that because of the one time you saw him hit your friend, correct?
Yes.
So you observed one act and you thought he's still a danger even if he's down and in the water, correct?
Yes.
That's, you were fearful at that time? Or were you still angry?
I believe it was a little bit of both.
Okay, so when you punched him the first time, it wasn't out of fear. You weren't afraid until he was down in the water.
Yes.
But when he's down in the water, you're fearful and angry, and then you hit him, correct?
Yes.
And you do that with your right hand so that you can make sure you hit him with enough force, correct?
I wasn't making sure to hit him with enough force, but
Okay.
my body just naturally positioned itself to the right side.
Okay. You believed that at that point, you feared for your safety?
No, I feared for everyone else's safety. No, I didn't fear, okay, you're getting me confused.
All right, well, let's take a step back. Let's all ask it again, okay? Tell me in this photo, when you're hitting him the third time, whose safety do you fear for?
My friends.
Okay, which friends in particular?
Madison, AJ, Tony, Riley, Janelle, Scotty, my father, Sheena.
Okay, so let's go through that list. Do you know where Madison is there?
No.
Do you know where Riley is there?
No.
Do you know where your brother Tony is there?
I believed he was walking up right behind AJ.
Okay. You know where AJ is, correct?
Yes.
AJ's behind Nicolae Miu, pushing him down from behind, agreed?
Agreed.
But in that situation, you were worried for AJ's safety?
Yes.
Okay. And as a result of your fear for AJ's safety, that's why you hit Nick Miu a third time, correct?
Yes.
And you thought that amount of force was necessary?
Yes.
Do you think that's reasonable?
I did.
You did in that time?
Yes.
And you did in that time because of the escalated nature of everything that was going on there. Everybody was just fearful around there, correct?
Yes.
Dante Carlson's brother Tony was also involved at the confrontation at the river. According to his testimony, Miu stabbed him twice in the torso and cut his leg. Here's more of what he told prosecutors leading up to the attack.
As I was going over there, I mean, I saw someone get hit, someone screamed, "Don't hit a girl," and then everything else ensued.
And did you actually go over there and try to de-escalate, break things up?
Yes, as I went over there, I started yelling at people to back up and get away. I don't remember exactly who I was yelling at. I know I was yelling at everyone in the situation, not just one side or the other.
Do you remember how his hand came at you when you kind of blocked it away?
I mean, it went like this, but at first, I mean, I just thought it was a punch. I think he was just going for a low jab, but I tried hitting it down with my arm, and then he came back up.
The second one is the one that got you higher?
Yes.
Now, keep in mind, this event was all captured on a 3-minute video taken by Jawan Cockfield, a member of the victim, Isaac Schuman members group. This video is arguably the most important piece of evidence in the entire trial, referenced by both parties throughout witness testimony. During cross-examination, the defense used that video to question Tony Carlson's role in the altercation.
As we scroll through, Mr. Miu here has the knife in his right hand, correct? You see that?
Yes.
And as you're just before that, that's your foot, that's your body, you're right there, correct?
Yep.
You are not wounded in that moment, correct?
Correct.
You're right in near him, correct?
Correct.
He does not reach the knife out and stab you, correct?
Looks like he's trying to hold himself up.
My question was, he doesn't reach out and stab you, agreed?
Agreed.
You are not you don't receive the wound that causes the 2 stitches until after you've approached him from behind and tried to redirect him while you're yelling, correct?
Yes, correct.
So it's not until you engage with him that he engages with you. Agreed?
Agreed.
The next surviving victim to testify was Riley Madison, also part of the Carlson tubing group. She suffered several stab wounds in the altercation, resulting in a punctured lung and injuries to her diaphragm and stomach. She stood next to Madison Cohen before the alleged punch that escalated the fight. Keep in mind, Cohen did testify, but she opted to remain off camera. So let's see how Riley described the incident to the prosecutors.
I remember getting off the tube, walking up to Mr. Miu, and I just remember Maddie being there and yelling at him. I remember her being punched in the face, and then I remember being stabbed, and that is completely it.
So you don't remember, did you see or don't you remember anyone else stabbed?
No.
And do you know if it's because you don't remember, you didn't see, or?
I think I was just focused on myself, doing what I was doing. I was not really paying attention to anybody else at all.
And when you saw Madison get punched, can you explain that in as much details as you remember?
I barely really remember that part. I just remember him staring at us and then not saying anything and punching her, and I was just like shocked, like, oh my God. And that right after that, I literally remember being stabbed, and that's it. So.
What else do you remember about you getting stabbed?
I just remember seeing Nick's face very blank and not lunging at me, but just kind of poking me, and I held my side and I was like, ow, like, Janelle, I think he punched me. That really hurt, like, and I looked down and I was bleeding out and holding my stomach, and it just like didn't feel real.
On cross-examination, the defense questioned her actions while confronting the defendant and how her positioning could have contributed to her injuries.
In that moment, did you understand that the man that you're standing in front of, who's looking past you, is waving to people behind you?
I did not.
Okay. Did you ever think, hey, maybe I should just let him go in that direction?
I mean, I'm 110 pounds. I feel like he could have walked right past me.
He could have, right? You don't know who was to your left, correct?
Correct?
There's a group of 6 teenagers there,
Correct.
and those 6 teenagers are screaming, predator, 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 correct?
I didn't hear that, but in the video, yes.
And to your right is Madison Cohen,
Correct?
and somewhere around in that area is Dante Carlson,
Correct?
Anthony Carlson,
Correct?
AJ Martin, correct?
Correct?
So it wasn't just you, 110-pound.
No, but at that moment, it was Maddie and I, so I just mean he could have walked around, but
At least that's what's captured on the camera,
Right.
correct? And the poke in your side is on your left side, correct?
Correct.
And it's, could you just for a moment, can you stand for a
Yes.
moment? And again, obviously keep your jacket on, right? Can you just touch on with your right hand where it is?
right here.
Okay. Fair to say that as you stand there right how you are right now, your left arm is protecting that area.
Yes.
And if you raise your left arm, push it up, raise it, shoulder, is that area now exposed?
Yes.
Is it now vulnerable to being cut?
Yes.
Is it vulnerable to being cut where you're at right now?
No.
No. And so, from deduction, would you agree that maybe your hand was outstretched towards him in that moment?
I do not agree with that.
Sustained.
Okay. You don't have a memory of it?
I do not.
The fourth and final victim to testify was AJ Martin, another member of the Carlson tubing group. Prior to the stabbing, he's seen on the video with his hands on the defendant while he's down in the water. While on the stand, he showed the jury the surgery scar from a severe stab wound to his torso, leaving him disemboweled. Here's how he described the incident to prosecutors from his point of view.
After he had hit Maddie in the face, I saw someone else hit him, and I wasn't sure who. I saw him fall into the water, and my intention was, because I used to work at elementary schools and had experience breaking up fights with little kids and stuff like that, so my intention was to go over there and try and break it up. I saw him in the water, and I saw people going around him, so I went to push his shoulder in the front, but ultimately didn't. But I was going to try and just get him to stay down for another second and then tell everyone to back up, and then we could have figured out what was going on. But as I reached down to push him in the shoulders, he reached up and I guess, I don't know if you call it a stab, but got me with the knife.
On cross-examination, the defense team questioned his response to the confrontation after the defendant had already been knocked to the ground.
This man,
Nicolae Miu.
Yeah, this man, at that point, you knew he had been punched and knocked to the ground, and he's in the water, correct?
Yep.
And you're telling the jury that what you were trying to do is you were trying to get him away from other people while he's down in the ground in the water.
Get people away in some way, shape, or form. It didn't need to be him. I wanted him to stay down so he couldn't go and punch another person. And then I was going to tell everyone there to back away because, you know.
So there's a lot to unpack there again. As you said, you wanted to get other people away, but you didn't go to the other people. You went to Mr. Miu, correct?
Yeah, I went to the guy who was punching people first.
Correct. Again, based upon your memory that he pulled someone's hair and punched them from behind, correct?
Based on the memory that I know that he punched someone, yes,
Okay.
It doesn't matter how he punched them. I know he punched them, and he shouldn't have.
Okay. And you were going to make him pay for that?
No.
So when he's down in the water on the ground and you're standing there trying to be the peacemaker because you're not a fighter, you thought it was going to be peaceful to you to keep him down in the water?
I mean, it was shallow water. His head wasn't below. All we needed was an extra second to get people to move away from him, and then he could get up, and we could possibly have a conversation, but, I mean, he hadn't used any words up until that point, so probably not.
The prosecution continues to call witnesses in the case against Nicolae Miu, who faces 1 count of first-degree intentional homicide and 4 counts of attempted first-degree intentional homicide. So stick here with Law and Crime as we bring you gavel-to-gavel coverage on this fascinating self-defense case out of Wisconsin.